All right, guys, I am a minute or two late, but we are live here with this week's PDOCS Livestream Series episode. And as I had talked about, and sorry, I was just prepping some stuff last minute. I was on a call with my business partner, Jesse. And so I'll just do the intro as this is loading up. But as the title says, as I've talked about, and anybody watching, you should know that this week we are going through the knowledge gap analysis overview or lesson and how that goes right into your EAACO script or your EAACO framework, right? So the actual EAACO script, and let's start with that, what you can see on my screen where I'm hovering my mouse and obviously in the black letters there. EAACO, first off, stands for engage, assess, assign, call to action, and obligation. Now, where the script really comes into the play is the assign phase. That's where we actually can build out a script to assign the new frame and kind of dig from the symptom level problem to showcase the real problem, and then we can inject our unexpected solution, and we'll go through that. Now, the knowledge gap analysis is really the assess phase of this. You need to assess where they're at and drop them into the right bucket so we know which script and which angle to use. So I'm going to go through a couple things on here. And again, I just got live. I'm not sure how many people are watching quite yet. And as I normally do on these, when I do the live stream straight into the group and I'm not hosting in Zoom or I don't have, a guest on and a bunch of people watching, drop any comments or thoughts in the chat, in the comments below in the Facebook Live, and I'll go back and check them periodically and definitely before the end for a quick little Q&A for whoever's watching. But what I'm going to cover is first, this tool is all within, and if I scroll out, you're going to see where I'm kind of hovering my mouse, and what I just had on there is one little, one speck of everything that's on this board with all these resources. And this is what's known as the PDOCS motherboard, which our private students and clients get access to in the PDOCS CAM, Client Acquisition Method program. Now, in specific, we're going into the EAACO framework, into the assess phase. So what I want to show you is a great generic knowledge gap, and I want to explain it here and the generic script, and then I want to show you a full board that was built out for a specific client and offer. So this one's going to be a little more general and a great entry lesson, and then we'll get into a more specified, specific one for a particular business owner and offer, and see how those scripts played out and how the whole knowledge gap analysis. So I'm going to dive into that now really quick. I'm just going to check and make sure everything's working on the live stream since this all got thrown together. I can't say last minute because I had it prepped, but I just ran a little short on time today. There we go. I already see the live stream live. And then, perfect. So if anybody is watching, looks like we have maybe 3 viewers on now. Feel free to drop any comments, questions into the chat there. And Daniel, awesome, see you on there live. So guys, I'll be checking in there periodically, but let's start diving into the lesson. And as I mentioned, the main crux of this is the knowledge gap into the EAACO script. I'm going to cover the whole framework here, but that's where we're going to spend the most of our time. So let's start with a full knowledge gap analysis. And this one is built out in a very good general sense. We built this out for really anyone, and again, a general sense, right? We'll show you the more specific, but really anyone launching or optimizing their high ticket offers online, which is going to be quite a lot of the people watching, no matter where you're viewing this. My audience is pretty much that type of person. So, as I always say, the best way to start this and what a knowledge gap analysis does is going to help us find entry points or messages, angles, and hooks that we can use to enter the market, penetrate the market with conversations to our ideal prospects. And that's going to make a lot more sense. Now, how do we start this is all about asking the right questions to identify where this person is on your spectrum in terms of how sophisticated, how established. Are they a newcomer that just got online and started clicking on stuff yesterday? Or do they have an established business? We're going to talk to all these people in a slightly different manner, sometimes in a drastically different manner, right? So what this is going to show you, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, in this case, all the yellow boxes are the knowledge gaps that we came up with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And as I say in all of my general ones, and in a majority of the ones I do, we're usually going to come out with somewhere between 6 and 10. I usually find like 8 is that happy number. This one we came up with 9, right? So right in that ballpark, which is great. And these are all going to be all the different knowledge gaps that we're going to use, and it's going to make sense as I scroll down there, depending on where people are at in their journey and the questions we need to ask to kind of pre-qualify that. Now, the thing to make this work, and where a lot of people mess this up when they try this on their own, is you have to be very certain you're asking binary questions. Yes, no, over, under, left, right, hot, cold, right? And there's ways to do that, and I'm going to go through that a little. Like, asking somebody if they're doing over 10K a month, right? That's the same thing as saying, are you established in doing at least 5 figures a month in revenue? But 5 figures is a lot more vague, so you want to just pick the baseline or bottom number. This is also going to really help us, and as a business owner, this is probably the one that's most prevalent because a lot of us are looking to work with people from 0 to 10K, people that are doing over 10K. Some of us work with both. Some of us work with neither or one or the other. I shouldn't say neither, one or the other. And we don't really have products and programs to help both. So that all depends on your business, and if you have one core high ticket offer that's only for people already established, or do you have nurture processes and freebies and Facebook groups or school communities that you can put people into while you nurture them. So there's all kinds of different ways to look on this depending on where you're at. But the number one question in this case that we want to ask is, are you doing at least 10K per month? Let's say they say the answer is no. What do we want to ask that person next? Well, if I want to work with somebody that's not yet established in doing 10K a month, and let's say they're a coach, I want to know if they've had, success coaching past clients. If the answer is no, really quickly, there's probably one more thing before I disqualify them and move them into that DQ thing. Because for me and for most people watching, if your client isn't certain, the coach you're working with or whatever, that they can deliver their customer results, how can you really help them grow their business? So that's an automatic disqualifier if they don't really have the expertise. Yes, I want to start a coaching business, but I've never coached and I don't think I can, right? But the one thing I might ask them first is, have you never done it because you don't have the expertise or you don't know how to start a coaching program? Now, if they say they don't have the expertise, as you see, automatically DQ. But if they don't know how to start a coaching program and they feel like they've had the expertise, now they've already answered no that they haven't had past clients, that's not necessarily a disqualifier. So I'm going to loop them in this case. They're going to loop in all the way back over to here, to this particular knowledge gap. Same thing that I would have said if they said, yes, I have had, past success coaching clients. I'm just not charging, or I did it for free, or I've charged a few thousand, but I'm not over 10K months, right? And then if they said yes, we might say, is the reason like you're not at 10K months? Or hold on, what was the previous question, just to make sure I get it right? So have you had success? And then they were under 10K and they said that they've had success. So is the reason you haven't started group coaching online yet due to not knowing where to begin, or is the technology overwhelming? Because those are the two biggest problems we hear why people don't transition their expertise into a monetized online offer, right? So no matter what they say there, it kind of loops them back into this knowledge gap, which I'll dive back into in one moment, because that's like the entry level one for if somebody said yes on this first question. So in this case, this one all loops back into this side of the board, which can happen, and I don't want to overcomplicate things. Let's go back to the beginning. Hey, Mr. Prospect, are you doing at least 10K per month? Yes, I am. Cool. What's the next thing I want to ask them? And most business owners are like, I want to know if they're charging high ticket or not. But again, that's subjective. So pick a number. What do you categorize as high ticket? For me, it was 3K or higher, right? Or for this particular avatar. So like, now I can ask them if they're charging high ticket in a very binary way. Are you charging at least 3K for your offer? Now, I already know they're over 10K months, and if they're not charging at least 3K, what do I want to ask them next? Well, it's the reason you're not charging, high ticket prices due more to the fulfillment or the lead quality, which really means, number one, I feel like, what I'm delivering in terms of, a transformation or a service isn't worth 3K, or hey, Ray, my audience can never afford 3K, right? And that's just, it's a big misconception, but a lot of people think and believe that, which is fine at this point. So no matter what they say, if they say, hey, I'm not charging more due to, I just don't feel like I'm providing enough value, enough of fulfillment. Hey, what if I could show you how to turn your expertise into a group coaching model on Facebook? Would that offer you some value? So right now, for where this guy's at, that's kind of the knowledge gap, and we've all heard that one, but this is a very low sophisticated type of prospect, which that would offer that person value right now, especially on this side of the board, right, where they were saying, I don't know where to begin, I don't have the expertise, the tech is overwhelming. What if I could show you how to just take your expertise and turn it right into a group coaching model, and put together that offer? If they say it's lead quality, hey man, if you feel like your leads won't pay enough for your services or can't afford them, what if I could show you how to craft an offer that could solve a bigger problem, hence we can charge more or serve an audience that can afford more? Oh my God, Ray, that's exactly what I need right now. So depending on where they're at, again, if they keep answering yes and they're that more sophisticated person, it's going to be a little later till I actually drop them into a knowledge gap and diagnose it, because they already have figured out how to charge more than 10K. They already are charging high ticket. There's not much for me to offer yet. So next I would say, like, okay, well, are you enrolling at least? If they said yes, I am charging high ticket. Now I want to know how many clients they're working with. But again, you need to ask that in a way that's over or under. So in this case, if we know he's charging 3K and he's doing over 10K months, I'd like to say he's enrolling at least 4 clients per month, right? So like, hey, are you enrolling at least 4 clients per month? Let's say they say no. Then you need to break that down to numbers. Hey, are you getting at least 8 appointments per week? Let's say they say no to that. Hey, how many conversions are you having with your ideal prospect per week? Over under 10. Conversations, that should actually be over under 10 per day. I need to go in and change that. Actually, I'm not in edit mode. But either way, you get my point. So let's say they say under. Okay, so now I know that they're charging a high ticket price. They can close deals. They're somewhat established. They're doing over 10K months, but they're simply just not having enough conversations. Hey, Mr. Coach, what if I could show you where to find and how to generate 10 quality conversations per day using organic methods? Right now, if we can get more conversations, we can obviously get more bookings and get past that over under 4 high ticket clients per month. What if they say, hey, I am getting in over 10 conversations per day, but for some reason they said no to getting 8 appointments booked per week? That tells me one specific thing. Hey man, what if I could show you how to convert your existing conversation or engagement into qualified appointments? Because right now you're having enough discussions, but you're just not converting. And let me show you the secret sauce that helps you do that. So that's what's going to be to solve that person's problem. We can keep going down the spectrum, right? Let's say they said, yes, I am generating at least 8 appointments per week. All right, well, now I know if I'm generating 8 appointments per week, right? And there's on average, at minimum, there's 4 weeks in a month. 8 times 4 is 32. And he told me no in this case, that he's not enrolling at least 4 clients. So I can already do the math and know he's got a very low close percentage, all right? He's getting this number of appointments, but he's not getting this number of clients. So my next question, because I can already kind of fill the gap that there's a low close percentage, hey, is the reason for the low close rate due to the quality of leads or not being able to overcome objections, right? So let's say they say the quality of leads. What if I could show you how to build out a 6-step micro-commitment pre-qualifying process that pre-qualifies your leads prior to getting on the call? That way we'll make sure that none of your call time and your sales calls are wasted, and you're actually speaking with people that are in the buying pocket and can afford your services. So that's what that guy kind of needs right now. Or if they say, hey, it's objections in the sales call. Well, next I want to know, before I inject a knowledge gap there, I kind of want to know, hey man, do you have a sales team or is it just you, right? If it's just me, is it like, okay, so we're not closing enough deals and you're the one taking the calls and you know the offer better than anybody. You're the coach, right? Is the main objection you're getting more finances? Is there more a hindrance or logistical, right? And if they say it's finance, I can give them the breakdown on how to dive into finances effortlessly and have an open conversation so they can close more deals. Or if they say it's a hindrance or logistics, again, it goes back to how to pre-frame through your process, through your inbound messaging, as well as that sales process, and sometimes through posts and group, but it's how to pre-frame them. And basically what we mean by that is overcoming objections in your messaging before they ever get onto the call, which in some of the processes and some of the content I was just clipping today, we do very well, and we had some prospects talk about. Now let's say they had a sales team, but I see this close percentage of, basically a minimum of 1 in 8, right? If they're closing 4 or less per month in 32 appointments, that's 1 in 8 calls at best. It's probably even a little lower than that. So now I want to ask the business owner, hey, so, your sales team's closing at a low percentage. You stepped out of that and you have a team. Is this slump kind of ongoing, or is this a slump, or is this ongoing, right? So a slump, we can basically show you how to diagnose the reason for the dip in your sales team performance and ways to track metrics so we can see another dip coming before it gets bad and make the proper adjustments. So that would add value. Or, hey, if this is an ongoing thing and you've just always had a low close percentage and you've accepted it, what if I could show you how to hire, build, and train an A-player sales team so they can be closing at double what you're currently closing at? That would automatically change the profitability and all the dynamics in the business, right? So I went through this whole one in pretty much in depth. And then what we would do is take each one of these, in this case we had 9, and we would drop it down into what we call a messenger script. This would be knowledge gap 1 for that first guy, knowledge gap 2, etc., etc. And these are always very similar in the sense, and let me pick one specifically so I can transition down. Let me pick one, like not the first entry level one, but let's pick like a mid one, like here or here. So what were those? Yeah, let's go with how to convert conversations. So basically at this point, what we know is that they are having enough conversations with their ideal prospects per day, but they're not getting enough appointments booked, right? So let's say I drop them down into Knowledge Gap 3. And again, I don't already have these built out. These are still like the framework. I'm going to show you a full built out one. But Knowledge Gap 3, it'd be like, okay, so it sounds like by what we're talking about, you're just not converting enough of the conversations. Hey, Mr. Prospect, do you mind if I weigh in on this? No, Ray, go right ahead, man. So I deal with this quite often, and it seems to me the reason that you're having problems actually getting enough qualified appointments booked is simply, you're just not converting the existing conversations you're having. So where most people would think I need to ramp up and talk to more leads, what does that really matter if you're not currently converting the ones that you're speaking with? We need to show you how to have highly quality conversations that convert into actual qualified bookings. So then I inject the knowledge gap next. That was a little long for the problem section, and I added a little more. And then I would say what we do when we work with our private clients is we show them how to build out transitional messaging as well as effective, efficient DM setting so that they can turn all of their qualified conversations into valuable either current appointments right now or nurtures for some time down the road. You see, where most people go wrong is they do exactly what I said earlier. They try to ramp up and just get in more and more conversations when the main problem is not converting existing conversations. Does that make sense to you, Joe? Right? So what I'm doing here, and you guys should be kind of hearing this, whoever's watching, as I go along. And if you have anything now, type it before I go into the next board that I'm going to share. I'm going to go back and check questions here within the next minute or two. So if you have any comments or questions, type them in now, guys. But if you could kind of see what I'm doing in there and what's happening in the prospect's brain, is they're going to say, hey, what Ray said totally made sense. Nobody's really said it like that before. How do I find out more? And it's going to go to the next stage. Now, why we always ask makes sense is this is where we're confirming if they've accepted the frame. So the next segment down here is like the 3 different acceptance frames. It would be a strong, a mid, or a weak acceptance, meaning, hey, Ray, what you said totally makes sense. How do I find out more? That's what should happen. And that happens when we've assessed them right and we've dropped them into the right script and we've gone through that properly, right? So we should be getting a strong acceptance when we're doing this right, and that's why this is such a powerful exercise about 80% of the time. Sometimes you might get a medium acceptance, like, hey, Ray, that kind of makes sense, and I see that generally, but I don't know if that applies to my business model or my industry, right? So then I'm going to go at a little bit different from there. And a weak acceptance, which you shouldn't get when you do this right, either means you've assessed it wrong, your knowledge gap and your script is really off, or your script, or you're just speaking with the wrong person totally, and you've taken them too far through the process when you should have DQ'd them, disqualified them earlier. But a weak acceptance would be like, hell no, Ray, that makes absolutely no sense. I don't see how that would work for me at all, right? And we have a little different way we would attack each one of those with the next messages. And then the last aspect of this is really the obligation, or what I call touch point messages. You can call it obligation, accountability, whatever. But these are just 24-hour, generally speaking, and 30-minute touch point messages that most people should be doing. I touch on this a lot. I like to think everybody's doing it, but the truth is, when I go through people's systems, probably only about 12 to 15% of people are actually doing this right and effectively, outside of maybe through automations, which is great if you can automate it. I'm not saying don't. I still like to have a personal touch point message, even when I'm running automations. If I'm a rep and an offer and they're getting a 1-day reminder and a 30-minute reminder, I'm probably coming in 2 hours before the call with an SMS. Hey, Mr. Prospect, this is Ray. I'm the rep you'll be speaking with from XYZ company here in a couple of hours, right? I just want you to have my personal number. I know you probably got a few notifications through our automation system, but this is my personal number in case somehow we're disconnected, right? Whatever, just a little bit of a personal touch point. But it's this simple. And again, in this process, we send resources, and I'll talk about that more. I figured I'd wait till I get to the next board. But, the accountability or the obligation frame. Hey, Mr. Prospect. Hey, Joe, did you get a chance to go through that video I sent you? If so, what was your biggest takeaway? I always welcome any and all feedback. Or if you haven't gone through it yet, please do so before our call. It'll really help us be prepared and get maximum value out of our chat, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Whatever it is, right? And then a 30-minute tie down. Hey, Joe, looking forward to our chat here in about 30 minutes. Speak soon, my friend. Just something to engage them, and so we're not like no engagement for, at minimum here, if we did this one, 24 hours, right? And it just kind of puts them back in the loop. And they might say, hey, my call's maybe going 5 minutes over, right? I'd rather pre-confirm that and preface that. So there's a lot of good reasons for doing this. So that's a quick little overview on the general lesson. I'm going to get more specific, but let me go check the chat here in the live stream and just see if there's any comments or questions to answer, and then I will dive right back into the next segment. It looks like there is one or two there. Daniel, if anyone wants access to this tool, let me know. Awesome. Daniel's offering that. JP, I think, is already taking them up on that. Yup. Sign me up. Excellent. And says we have a couple new viewers on there as well. So great, guys. Let's dive into, and again, if you have any more questions or comments, feel free to type them whenever. I will be checking back once or twice more. But let's dive into the other board that's already been fully built out for a done-for-you client and see how this all worked. Now, I will say, and I led off by saying on my other example that I like to come up with about 6 to 10 knowledge gaps. I found about 8 to be that high number. Now, in this offer, she came out with a handful more than that. How many? Let's just count them real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So a handful more. But one of the reasons for this is, and generally speaking, that's a bad thing, but if you work with really every range of people and you have a full ecosystem and you have nurture process and groups and other team members, you might work with more people than just an individual coach, freelancer, expert, speaker, etc., etc. And that was the case in this particular offer. So this was a done-for-you client board, which I did a little preview or teaser video a day or two ago that I posted, and some of you guys may or may not seen that. But in this case, we're going to start with the exact same thing. And when I worked with this client, hey, what's the first question you want to ask to know if you're a good fit to work with this particular customer? Well, Ray, I want to know if they have an existing offer or brand first and foremost. Okay, cool. Let's ask that. What if they say no? Next, I want to know, do they have an expertise or are they a coach? They might not have necessarily an established brand or offer, but they might be an expert or coach. Totally. And what happens if they say no to that? What happens next? Well, now I want to know if, are you or your mindset the thing that's holding you back? Meaning maybe you are an expert or a coach or good at something, but you don't classify yourself there because you kind of don't give yourself enough credit, right? Which a lot of people have, and she has a mindset aspect, so that makes sense. Personally here on my funnel, or the way I would, if they told me no that they weren't, I probably would have disqualified. Or maybe I have some nurture stuff like asking them if they want to become one, or if that's if that's why we're connected, maybe. But basically, is your mindset the thing holding you back? If they say no, then she does disqualify, which is great. So, that's a really good process. And then if she says yes, or if they say yes, she already has a knowledge gap. Hey, basically what I think you need is I think you need help creating a growth mindset by eliminating baggage and establishing the right beliefs, right? So a little different than something I would do, but certainly relevant to her offer, and we'll see later where that kind of ties into the script. But again, that's the low sophistication level prospect. So let's say they said, no, I don't have a brand, but yes, I am an expert or a coach. What do you want to ask next? Well, next, Ray, I want to know if they're certain they can deliver results to clients. Cool, let's ask that. If they say no here, she has a particular group where she wants to invite them in, get to some free resources, training, and to her live stream events, or whatever the trajectory was. So right there, no, I'm not really certain. Cool. Hey, we have this awesome free Facebook group where we help people who are trying to get into coaching and get into, expert teaching and building an online knowledge business that aren't quite certain if they can deliver results yet. We have a bunch of free resources and a whole community of other people you guys can engage with. Cool if I send you the link to join? Right? So invite to the group. Now, if they said yes, next she wants to know, do they want to have a 6-figure offer or brand? It's just, I don't have an offer or brand yet, but I am certain I can deliver results. I am a coach or an expert. So next she wants to know, are you envisioning yourself and do you want, to have a real legit brand? Let's say they say no. Are they saying no because they think that's unachievable, which is most of the time, I think, why people would say no there? If they are in this bucket, right? They are a coach. They are certain they can deliver results. And a lot of people just think, I'm never going to turn into a 6-figure brand, right? Just for what I do. So a lot of times the answer is like, do you believe this is achievable? No. disqualified to a trusted resource or referral that might be, or says she has somebody else in her ecosystem that might be a good help for them. But if they said like, yeah, I don't believe this is achievable, right? It's like, hey, basically we want to dive into the knowledge gap is really the mindset, the value of transformation in their offer and how big of a problem they solve and getting them to really see that and believe in themselves, right? So you'll see more of that in a script. And again, this is more the entry level person. Let's say they said yes, that they do want a six-figure brand. Have you validated results with client testimonials? Let's say they say no. They need a personal brand that attracts paying clients whose problems they can solve, who would be happy to give them testimonials and feedback, right? So that's going to be a great one for that person. Or let's say they said, yes, I do have results. It actually ties back into this part of the funnel, which is also great, which we're going to scroll over to next. And that's the more established person. So let's say they say, yes, I have an established brand. Now she wants to know, I'm sorry, yes, I have an offer or a brand. That was the first question here. Just simply, do I have an offer or a brand? If they say yes, next she wants to know, are they established? To her, that's making at least 5 figures a month, so that's a good prerequisite. So hey, cool, you have an established offer and a brand, or you have a brand. Are you over 10K per month yet? No. Person below 10K month. Next, she wants to know, are they charging high ticket? Very much like I covered in the general one, and she was pretty much on the same page with me, thinking that number's around 3K. So, hey, is your offer over under 3K? No, it's not. Are you charging under 3K because you're unclear on how to charge more? Yes, I'm unclear how to do so. No, I know how to do so, but they obviously, again, so there's knowledge gaps for each of these, right? You need to identify and solve a bigger problem so you can attract ideal clients who will invest in solving that pain. Or I'm just unclear how to charge more. What if I could show you, or they need to craft a high ticket offer to double their prices without doing more work? They're undercharging, right? Now, if they are charging high ticket prices already, have they validated the offer with high paying clients? Let's say they say no. Hey, basically what I think you need right now, Mr. Prospect, is an organic ethical marketing system that you can use to generate 6 to 8 high ticket appointments per week and collect feedback and start to close those first few deals. Boom, that's going to be a game changer for where this person's at right now in the process. Yes, I have validated it. Cool. So are you able to book calls consistently? No, I'm having trouble with that. The knowledge gap is the pipeline here, and they need a streamlined pipeline, and we'll dive down into the script. That one can be explained a little better, but the script does it well below. So again, these are all different questions and that's what you do to do an effective knowledge gap question analysis in your own business. What's the first question I want to ask somebody? What's the next question based off that answer that I would ask them? And eventually when you get to a point where you can see a clear problem or a challenge or something they're stuck with or ineffective and inefficient numbers, then you inject the knowledge gap. So the whole assess phase is like, look at this like a giant tree, although this one might not be a great example the way it jumped out. But look at this as a giant tree, and it should start narrow and get wider as we go down, which it kind of does. I think this might look more like a bush than a tree, but it's widening as you go down, and you kind of figure out which branch are we dropping them into, which bucket, right? And then that's where we go down and inject the knowledge gap. So I went through a lot of these. Let's get to like a real sophisticated one. Let's say they said, yes, I have a brand. Yes, I'm over 10K. And have you kind of maxed out your organic growth? Let's say they say, yes, I have. Like I've already hit my highest level organically. Well, this is a real good one where you can show people. A lot of people think they max out organically and then they transition into paid, which I think a great business has a healthy mix of both, because we all know paid ad platforms and accounts can get shut down. Stuff can happen. Ad costs there can be all kinds of variables. And if something happens and you're totally reliant on paid and your account gets shut down, then your whole sales team calendar goes dry, right? So that's a little more in depth of a conversation. I kind of went off script there, or off this mural board there. I should say off board, not off script. But hey, what if I could show you how to automate and systemize an organic marketing outreach approach to scale and then eventually level paid ads out of actual profit rather than out of pocket like you might be doing now, right? So that could be really powerful. Or yes, no, I haven't maxed out. So are you taking at least 10 strategy appointments per week? Again, let's go down to someone that's like, yeah, I'm taking more. Is your sales team closing over 20%? Yes, we're closing over 20%. So is the roadblock into scaling to the next level lack of reps on your team or volume of opportunity? Lack of reps. Hey, what if we could show you how to staff appointment setters and closers and full SDRs throughout your system so you can continue to scale, right? Or if it's volume, right? disqualify and refer to. So this one she doesn't have a solution for, which is great. So she has a disqualify and a referral process there, which is also something you guys can set up. If you realize that certain of these questions you're asking, you don't solve the problem, partner with somebody that does. There's a lot of ways to figure out how to solve it, or you can find a, again, referral partner that does solve that problem, and anybody you send over to him, you get a kickback of 20% of what he charges, or whatever it is, right? So there's still ways to help people and still get a little bit of a kickback. But I always say, if we're not the best person to help somebody, we should refer them or disqualify them and say, hey, based on where you're at, you're a little further than I really help. I usually help people that, are a step down from you. So go work with this guy. Or, hey, you're not quite at the level where you're ready to work with us, but this guy works with newcomers and startups. Why don't you go talk to him? Or, hey, we help with the business coaching, but it sounds like you have a little bit of a mindset thing. Let me refer you over to my mindset expert. Get up to speed with him, and then maybe come back and talk to me once you fix that problem. Whatever, right? So these are all different examples. Now, these all transition down into all of these EAACO scripts. So in the last one, and again, this is the assign phrase. Now that we've assessed and dropped them into a bucket or a box, each one correlates down to a script. Now, I showed you the general framework and outline for this on the last one, and I kind of filled it in myself. These ones have all been vetted out, and then it leads into a very similar acceptance frame, and then touch point messaging. That doesn't really change much, but let's pick 2 or 3 of these at minimum to go through, and let's pick like some of the more common ones. I know with this particular business owner and their offer, she was running a lot of messages that were falling into knowledge gaps 2 through 4 were pretty prevalent. So let's start with knowledge gap 3, and let's just recap where this person came from. Okay, let's follow the whole board. So they had an offer or a brand. They were under 10K a month, right? What was I? Yeah, knowledge gap 3. They were not yet charging high ticket, and they were a bit unclear on how to do so, right? So now let's take that down to knowledge gap 3 and see what that looks like down here and how that transitioned. So once you've asked a couple questions and you assess that, you kind of say, hey man, do you mind if I weigh in on that? No, please go ahead, Ray. Well, it sounds like you need to craft a high ticket offer that allows you to double your prices without doing more work. You see, what we do here at our offer, whatever XYZ company, what we do here, let's just say it's me, right? What we do here at PDOCS is show our students and clients how to craft high impact offers and charge 3 to 20K, or in some cases more, while delivering massive results and working less without feeling like a fraud. You see, where most people go wrong is they aren't actually selling their expertise or leadership. They're trading their time for money, and they burn out on free sessions or too many weekly calls, ultimately giving more value than they receive, so both the client and the expert or coach see a decline in results. Does that make sense? And it really does to these people that are charging low ticket, that don't realize that they can charge a few K for their offer, that are charging per hour or per session. They're trading their time for money. So this should make sense in that case. Let's go look at number 4 above real quick. And then let's take it back through that process, and then we'll look through one maybe like more sophisticated one too. So number 4 was still that kind of same thing. Yes, I have a brand. No, I'm not yet over 10K months. No, I'm not quite. Oh, yes, I'm charging high ticket, and that's why I wanted to defer. Okay, so I am charging high ticket. It's just saying they haven't validated their offer with high ticket clients. So they've already made money. They are charging high ticket, but they're having trouble getting in validated high ticket clients, right? So this is where we talk about that organic ethical marketing system to generate 6 to 8 high ticket appointments per week and collect feedback. Knowledge gap 4. So let's take it back down to the script. Number 4, hey, do you mind if I weigh in on this, Joe? No, not at all, Ray. It sounds like you really need a simple system to get some conversations happening with prospects who can validate your offer ultimately, right? So we teach our clients how to use a process called ethical marketing, which is organic outreach, but much faster using some tools and frameworks. You see, where most people go wrong is they spend hours creating content, or worse, they spend time and money on a website or even on social media, and it doesn't actually create a constant pipeline of leads, right? Does that make sense? So again, that one wasn't quite as strong, and it looks like it's been tweaked with a little bit. But the make sense also should always come before the CTA, like you see in the other ones. But either way, that's still real powerful. Let me see 1 or 2 more that I think are going to be best. The pipeline's pretty good. Sounds to me like you're not getting real yes or no. Number 7. That one got skipped with a number, so I'm not sure. Number 8. I want to see what number 7 was. What was the knowledge gap above? Let's go back to that and run through one more, and then we'll show you how it turns into the bottom 2 parts of the thing, and then I'll go back and check questions one more time. So we were on 7, knowledge gap 7. They need sales training to get a real yes. Oh, because we didn't go down this route. So when I did this, I didn't hit every single knowledge gap. I don't think we went to this one. They need sales training to get a real yes or no and learn how to leverage and overcome objections. Totally. So where this one filters back to is this guy was over 3K in price. They have validated their offer. They were able to book calls consistency, but the main thing is their close rate was below 25%. Okay, so that's a great one, and that's a good transition and something obviously I'm quite familiar with my expertise and my companies. But cool, Joe. Is it cool if I weigh in on that? It sounds to me like you're just not getting a real yes or no from prospects, meaning you don't have the data to optimize your process, and you probably feel like you're never able to successfully overcome objections. We teach our clients to use what's called the SAS method to bust past surface level objections, then actually use said objections to improve the process and even create winning ads or copy out of the feedback that they get. See, where most people go wrong is they never really get to the real yes or no so they can determine and isolate the actual objection. Objections will always either be logistical or an actual hindrance. So that information becomes essential into increasing your sales and your close percentage. Does that make sense? That is going to totally make sense to the person that's struggling with this. They are struggling to overcome objections. They're not sure why they're getting that at the end. They're getting a lot of, I need to think about it. I can't move forward today. I need to switch money around. Send me a proposal. All right, those are a lot of brush off things that are probably never going to get back on the call. It's because you didn't build enough angst and urgency. So, again, now that we've built that in, and I'd rather do 1 or 2 of these that already have the resource and the link in there. I thought some of them do. These ones seem to. Let's just check, though. Again, this was built out and edited for a client, so some things have been changed since I last built this. But once you get through this script, right, makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, Ray, that totally makes sense. Let's say we get the strong frame of acceptance, right? Cool, that's awesome. This is where I go next. Let me know if you're available for a quick 10-minute call sometime soon. Nothing to pitch you, LOL. Would be much easier if I just place my calendar link here so you can pick a time or date that works best for yourself. In addition, oh, see, so this one they skipped ahead. So the strong frame of acceptance should have went down to this next. Sorry, guys. This one was just a little out of order, but basically, yeah, Ray, that totally makes sense. Okay, I think I can help. Let's do this. Let's book a call, but first I want to send you a simple free training which shows you exactly how I help people, whatever the problem was in this knowledge gap. The last one we just did was close more deals and, get to a solid yes, but this one might have been something different, whatever we covered, but whatever. Inject that symptom level problem from above down here. Then on the call, I can answer any questions you'll have about it and assign some next steps and actions and recommendations. Does that sound good? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Great. Here's the link to that training I mentioned. Please go through this prior to our call, and I'll just place my calendar link below. You can select the date and time that's best for yourself. So that's exactly what's going to be below here in the strong acceptance, right? She just moved it up there. And then it's exactly what I just went through word for word, right? She just copied and pasted it up there in here for her setters now. And then she also has the link placed. So now once she gets to that point where, okay, I think I can help, right? Let me send this training, yada, 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 insert CCO link, which is, in this case, right here. So for this particular knowledge gap, in this one, when they need the link, it's right there. In this one, when they need the link, it's right there, right? So having a resource specifically built for each one of these people, not that you always need that. Sometimes you can have 2 general resources to start. You're going to build out more as you work with more people and you help more. But generally speaking, to start, at least have one for your more entry-level beginner and your more sophisticated audience. Because those 2 you're always going to speak to drastically different. If you show a guy looking to book his first call how you're helping people scale from 10 to 50K a month, he doesn't even care, right? Or if you're showing a guy already at 10K months and having conversations how to book his first call, he really doesn't care. So you need at least a couple for like your lower sophistication level and your more sophisticated or more established audience. Again, then it goes right into this framework, and then as I always recommend, some touch point messages. Hey Joe, did you get a chance to go through that video I sent you the other day about overcoming that low close percentage? Awesome. What was your biggest takeaway, right? Great. Look forward to speaking soon tomorrow, about 24 hours now. We're still on for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, Ray, we are, right? And then 30 minutes before the call, another one there. So there's a quick little overview. I probably went about as in-depth as I could do in 35 or 40 minutes for breaking down two of these boards, a general one to give everybody the framework and outline to do this for yourself, and then a fleshed out one and how it leads down into the actual scripts. So yeah, let me check back to the chat real quick to see if there's any last minute thoughts, questions, comments, etc. And otherwise we will wrap it up and get going. But let's see. Only looks like one more comment, I think, since I last checked. I tried to join Zoom. Yeah, JP, if you're still watching, and I kind of specify this, it's weird, my live stream schedule, and I probably should get some software or fix this. But if I'm doing a live lesson, streaming straight to the group, I never go on Zoom. Usually all my Zoom ones are on the opposite week when I have the expert guest speaker. So when I have a guest speaker, I stream these from Zoom, and then I upload them to Facebook later, and kind of vice versa when I stream the lessons. It's just easier to go right live from the group if I don't have somebody to interact with back and forth. I don't have to monitor that chat in the comments, yada, yada, yada. But when I have a guest on, I like to operate out of Zoom for that reason, and I like to be able to have you attendees be able to come and do it live. This one, if you want to ask me anything live, you guys can just do it right here in the chat. Good. Looks like we had a few viewers and a few people getting some value, but I don't see any questions, which means I must be phenomenal at my job and just explaining everything so great that nobody has any questions, which is awesome. So, another PDOCS Livestream Series in the book, guys. Knowledge gaps into your EAACO script, building out that engage, assess, assign, call to action, and obligation. I guess the only one I didn't cover is the most self-explanatory, engagement, right? We just need someone to raise their hand and say, yes, I have this problem. Yes, I'm curious. Yes, I'm interested. That can be from an email. That can be from an ad. That can be from a social media post. There's so many ways to find the engagement, and this training wasn't necessarily about that, but I did want to cover every aspect. So just a quick recap on that. But guys, this is the most impactful, as some of you guys might have saw either in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, or some of my posts earlier this week kind of prefacing this. This is the exercise that about 80% of our clients, when we do this with them and for them, they get the most value, the most clarity, and they go out and implement right away and start getting in engaging conversations, start converting, start getting that feedback to make the tweaks. And this is really one of the most impactful things, which is why, since I hadn't done a live training, especially for free to the group here in since July of 23, I thought it was a good time to bring back this lesson for anybody that never got a chance to see it, understand it, or might have always heard me talk about KGs or knowledge gaps or EAACO and like, what the hell is that? How does that, how or maybe knows one of them, individually, but didn't know they kind of combine to, complement each other. Really, your EAACO script is no good, or the assign frame, if you've never done the knowledge gap analysis and assessed it. So they certainly piggyback off one another. But yeah, thank you for the last comment there, JP 10-4. You understood what I'm saying about the live streams. So yeah, the Zoom links are when I have the expert guests. They're usually the opposite week. But when I just stream a lesson straight that I am teaching to the group, I just stream it this way because it's easier to teach and just screen share and do all that. But thanks for watching, guys. Anybody watching here won't really need the replay because you found it, but the replay will also be uploaded to YouTube, and anybody can go back and watch it there, and I'll drop the link later. All right, guys, have a good day. Thanks for attending, and thanks for your commenting, and let me know that it was an excellent training and you got some value. That's what we're here for, man.